Well, hello, welcome to the show. Normally I sit down here in the morning and I go through everything that's going on in cruising. I look at all the cruise news stories, and my goal is to curate for you some sort of interesting collection of stories that weave together and brings you some sort of information and entertainment. And that's what I set out to do Thursday morning, November the 9th, 2023. That's what I set out to do a few hours ago. But as I was digging into the various stories of today, I felt my ire. I felt my blood pressure. I got irritated. I just want to say that. And, with pinpoint laser focus, I have come to the, realization that if I don't get this off my chest, I'm not going to be able to do anything else today. And I have to speak out against one particular cruiser. It's the know-it-all cruiser, the cruiser that happily tells you, "I told you so." And it certainly relates to something that happened on the high seas just a few days ago. We have angry passengers shaming a cruise captain, maybe, I don't know, and other angry passengers questioning the decisions of the decision makers. Again, it all boils down to this one particular type of person. It's the "I told you so" know-it-all. I got to get these stories out to you and address this. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Cruise news. Cruise news. Cruise news. Here's Tony. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views. For your face. I already told you it's Thursday, November the 9th, 2023. I had a really great conversation with my friend Don Terrace last night on the internet. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today, we talked about in that show. Let me frame some context. Let me give you a couple stories. Interesting story coming off of the Virgin Voyages cruise ship. Let's see which cruise ship it was. Virgin Voyage, the Valiant Lady. They're doing some sailings over in Europe. They departed Barcelona on the 29th of October, doing a transatlantic cruise. And during that cruise, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the TV started flashing, "Grab your life jacket, go to the muster drill." And they gave a list of all of the muster drills, and people started scurrying around, and they were freaking out. And after all of that happened, they found out that it was just a drill. Like, they had the drill, but they didn't really announce that it was going to be the drill, and people freaked out. And some people said, "I knew it was a drill because you didn't have the beeps." That would be a wild situation. I don't know if there's much more to share about that story, but could you imagine getting through that? There's that. Tony from the edit here, and I've calmed down a little bit. I just realized that whole thing that I just said, it doesn't really even make sense to me when I watch it, but, I thought I would leave it in for a little behind the scenes. Essentially, the story is this. The Valiant Lady left Barcelona, and she was cruising, just normally cruising. They'd already had their embarkation, their muster drill, and all of that. And then out of nowhere, there was a call to muster, as if there was an emergency. People were in their cabins. The TV screen started flashing. "Get your life jackets. Go to your muster station. Here's a list of the muster station." It seemed like a legit, real emergency going down in Funky Town. And as people started to make their way to these muster stations, then it was finally announced that it was just a drill that had not been probably well communicated, that kind of thing. But, I've had a chance to take a breath, but this video is not going to slow down from this intensity that you saw previously, so let's get back into that. And then, of course, we've got a whole litany of stories about cruise ships and cruise companies that are dropping their Israeli stops. They're having to change whole itineraries for the rest of this year, for possibly next year. They're not going to go to Israel in the middle of a war, which seems completely reasonable, but there's a whole bunch of backlash happening on the internet of people that are angry that they had their Holy Land tour all set up to go, and now they can't go because there's a war in the region. I get, look, maybe, what do you want? You want a pile of money? You want a cookie? Are you so oblivious to the world condition that you can't somehow cope with the fact that your cruise got changed? We had it just a couple weeks ago. I was telling you stories of a couple cruise ships that could not go to Coco Cay because of the heavy wind. And of course, you had the people that understood, and then you had these people that were backlashing against it. Well, I looked at the wind. I was in the area. It sure seemed like we could have docked. I don't know why we didn't go dock. What do the people making the decision know? Well, it didn't seem that windy. And then fast forward to a couple days ago where the Saga cruise ship, the Spirit of Discovery, found itself in a storm in the Bay of Biscay, a storm so bad that as they were trying to navigate it, there was some sort of challenge with the cruise ship. The whole cruise ship stopped. Everything piled on top of itself. 100 people got injured. There were people texting family members out in the world saying, "My will is under the sofa. If I die, please do this." People were freaked out on that cruise ship. And well, of course, now on the tail end of this, we have passengers on board saying, "You know what? We told the captain that we should not sail into the Bay of Biscay because I was looking at the Weather Channel and the weather looked bad." Now, certainly in hindsight, they're right. They probably shouldn't have been sailing in that area. They probably should have stopped. But for every one person that told them not to sail into the storm, there were probably 5 people saying, "Look, I paid to go to the Bay of Biscay. I need to get into the Bay of Biscay." Thank you guys for letting me get it off my chest. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think that's always going to be the human condition. There's always going to be people that know better than this is a great example. You have a story of people upset about not going to Coco Cay because of high winds. And then you have, these other people that are saying, "I told the captain not to sail into a storm." It's like one of them, no-win situations. Why are we like that? Why are we like that as people? I think maybe we just want to be right? Maybe that's how we cope with challenges. We cope with disappointment by just saying, "Well, look, I knew better. I knew better than the people that made the decision." This is one pet peeve I have in my life. I do not enjoy being around people that will never make a decision. Therefore, they're not responsible for the outcome of that decision. But they're all hyper experts of that decision. "Well, I wouldn't have done it that way. I certainly would have done it." Well, how about you make a decision the next time? "No, I will not. Because if I do that, then somebody might criticize my decision making, and I enjoy being the person that just randomly criticizes people's decision making." Do you have any people like that in your life? We certainly have that in cruising, and I want it to stop. This is my appeal. This is my appeal to please stop being like that. There's a weird presentation for sure. I hope you got the nuggets of the cruise news, and I feel a little better that I have been able to vent, to get it off my chest. It's got to be hard to be a meteorologist for a cruise company. It's got to be hard to be a captain. And look, for most, I'd say 99.9% of the time, you're probably going to make the right decision. Most of the time, they're erring on the side of caution. And, I'm sure there'll be some sort of conversation, investigation, whether the cruise captain that got caught in the storm in the Bay of Biscay, whether or not he had made the best decision. I'm sure people in his organization will be talking to him about it, since 100 people got injured, which certainly every cruise captain's going to take that to heart. But sometimes, you can't control the weather. And, it's interesting. I just find it interesting that you're going to have people that complain for the weather conditions and sailing into the weather conditions, and then people that are going to complain about the weather conditions and not sailing into the weather conditions. And people are going to complain that you can't go cruising in a war zone. It's a weird dichotomy, right? We are cruisers. We're essentially people that have enough money to take our luxury-driven butts out into the ocean while part of the world is going mad. That's the whole compartmentalization of the world that we live in. You can't live fully in sadness and doom and gloom and suffering. But again, you can't be so blinded by your benefits of life that you don't recognize that there are other challenges going on. Strike the balance. I don't know. Again, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm rambling today. If you enjoyed this show, please hit the like button. And if you like staying up to date with everything going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. This is Tony for La Lido Loca, and until the next time, well, I told you so. I'll see you on the Lido. Bye. Cruise news, cruise news, cruise news, it's over.